Yeah, thanks a lot, Jeremy, for the introduction. Yeah, it's been a hard night of watching football, I think, for most people. But thanks for joining our talk today. As Jeremy mentioned, the topic is hacking the shit out of your IT recruitment, how to get IT candidates to fall in love with your employer brand and apply for your jobs. So let's start off with some brief introductions. My name's Tristan, I'm an account executive at VONQ. We are a leading recruitment marketing firm out of the Netherlands. So I'm here today with about 7 other Dutchies that are over there. So if you want to go and make fun of the football even more, then they're going to be over there feeling very sour. And I'm here today with Scott Johnson from Redington, who's going to tell his story very shortly on how he was able to solve his challenges. So, probably the most obvious statement of the day, IT recruitment is difficult. It's the reason why the majority of you guys are sat in front of me, whether it's software engineers, data scientists, data and analytics, or general STEM backgrounds. We're all in the same boat in the fact that we're all trying to overcome this big challenge in the market right now, which is how do we attract tech talent. Now, 90% of UK STEM businesses struggled to recruit talent in 2018. This is a pretty crazy number, and I think we've been talking about the war for talent now for how many years? And it doesn't seem that we're actually getting to any conclusions on how do we actually challenge this and how do we actually overcome this. So this is a genuine quote from a conversation I had about 2 weeks ago. So I've kept the recruiter anonymous, of course, and I think it's a little harsh because I think recruitment agencies do actually have a place within the ecosystem of recruitment. It's just when it comes to the war for talent, it just seems that agencies are ones that are coming out winning. And I think as recruiters, we're all getting a bit tired of this, and we want to find ways where we can actually overcome this and solve a problem. And it's now the highest employee turnover, with 82% of developers leaving within 4 years. So not only is it painfully difficult and expensive to get them through the front door in the first place, it turns out that they're just leaving straight out the back door. So what is the answer to this? How can we manage to attract talent in a way that's actually going to be talent that's going to resonate with our business, get them invested in what we do as a company so that we don't just churn them over straight away, and that they can actually thrive in the businesses that we operate? So on that note, I'd like to hand it over to Scott Johnson, who's going to tell his story of how he was able to attract talent to Redington.
Hi everyone, thanks very much for taking the time. So a bit of an introduction to me. Who are Redington? Who am I? I am the person responsible for getting people in the door and keeping the technology talent there as well. That's what Jeremy said. Silly job title in total, to be honest with you. But Redington, what we do is something that probably isn't seen very much in the day-to-day life. So we work with final salary pension schemes, typically insurers, investment organisations, wealth managers, sovereign wealth funds, charities, trying to affect a positive change for the members of those different investment schemes. We're built around the notion of making 100 million people financially secure. So doing that with pension schemes is a really big focus for us, and providing investment advice to those schemes to ensure that members are paid out what they should be. It's not just the only thing we do. We've got, just get these out, manager research, so understanding asset managers, how they perform from a qualitative and quantitative perspective. We launched a charity. We have a financial charity that teaches financial education to children in primary schools to help affect a better future to that 100 million person goal. And we also have fintech solutions. It's something that was a strategy pivot, and it leads me quite well onto the next slide. So the scenario that we had was, we want to move our technology capability from an internally facing team that supports the consulting teams to one that is actually marketable, one that we can take to market and deliver for client success, and ultimately affect a better change for more people in the country and, to be honest, around the world. We decided we needed to change a location. We couldn't really staff this in London because of how competitive the market is there, the real focus towards significant contract resource there. So we took some options. Where do we go? Do we go to Manchester? Incredible talent in this area, incredible locations, fairly cost effective from an operating perspective. Leeds, same concept. But what we didn't have was a real tie to that. We didn't have any connection to that location. So we chose Bristol. Bristol was important for us because our CTO sits on FinTech West, so an advisory panel trying to promote FinTech capability in the Southwest, and that's in terms of development and bringing inwards investment as well. As I mentioned, it was a tech talent team, so we needed developers, we needed product members, and we needed to be able to find people who would be happy to join our organization and really buy into what we're trying to achieve. And we had 2 months to do it. We took this decision in July. We needed to try and deliver this by really the end of August, but effectively trying to get it before the end of the year. So 2 months was the target, end of the year was the real push. The challenges, well, let's start. So no one knew who we were in Bristol. No one's got a clue who Redington are. To be honest, most people in the country don't know who Redington are, to be fair. Tech talent is not really the easiest to find in the UK or globally, to be honest. That 2 month timeline really hit us pretty hard. We thought that's going to be a bit awkward. We didn't have an office. We didn't have anywhere to put that team once it's created. There's another thing, tech talent. That was another tricky one that was added to it. We had no way of messaging what our branding was about, what Redington was really about, and what we're trying to achieve as an organisation. We had no way of positioning that to people, or hadn't positioned it to anyone. And I think, did I mention that tech talent is pretty hard to find in the UK, particularly for different tech stacks? So yeah, that was a few challenges, some quite interesting stuff. So what did we do? We put together, sorry, this clicker's a bit interesting. We put together a marketing strategy with the idea of actually launching Redington as a brand in Bristol. So we worked with our partners VONQ, we defined objectives, and we decided to start on a launch event, something that will introduce Redington to the tech community there, show what cool tech we've got, also demonstrate our real passion for trying to make a positive change to a lot of different people, and do it in a way that helped us collect information and then be able to focus that information back to the person who was interested. So as I've noted there, the targeted marketing, we looked at demographics and hit them with really appropriate content, we hit them with appropriate messaging, and we hit them with pixel retracking as well. So people who engage with that content, we could then serve them up more and more content that was relevant to them because they engaged with it. Leading me on to the messaging and positioning piece, something that was integral to the success of this activity that we did was really getting to know the people that we were trying to hire and get to know that community. So we did 3 things, and that was understand the community as best we could. So that was me and the CTO spending as much time as we could in Bristol, getting to know the tech community down there, so working with organisations that are trying to actively bring tech to the Southwest. We spent time meeting with people who run meetups, trying to meet with people who are internal recruiters in that marketplace, working with recruitment agencies, and ensuring that the ones that we knew in that area were the ones that, if we do need to have some additional support from vendors, are ones that we want to work with, that align to our goals. And really spent time to understand those demographics, so actually going to meetups, understanding why those people went to those formats of engagement, those community-based engagements, and really understand what was important to those 3 layers, so the Bristol community, what was important to the tech community in the Southwest, and also what was important to the developers that we wanted to attract and the tech specialists, product specialists that we wanted to attract. So we come up with this concept around fintech with social purpose. We, as a business, as I mentioned, we do have a social purpose in trying to affect that positive change. So we wanted to make it relevant to those demographics. And the Bristol community was one that was really, really engaged with a social good. There's a significant volume of people who are engaged in social enterprise, in social community activities. There's a significant volume of volunteer-led activities down there. And it really helped align well with what we do as an organisation. So you could say we were quite lucky in that instance. But trying to engage that was obviously a different matter altogether. Right, so by doing this, it helped us to create a campaign which generated self-selection. The people who saw and engaged with the content that we had were able to say, yes, I want to be a part of that, or no, I don't. And that's fine. There will be people who don't want to be involved in making 100 million people financially secure. They might say, how can you even measure that? It's nonsense. Equally, there'll be people who will say, that's exactly the mission, the goal, the objective that I really want to do with the work that I can contribute to an organisation. So that was the sort of clincher for us. That was the piece that allowed us to then bring this self-selection together. Our marketing strategy was really, it was guided by our internal marketing team who, just to sort of stress, get to know your marketing colleagues, get to know them as best you can, make them cups of tea, take them for a beer, whatever it takes, so that they're on your side, because they will eventually be invaluable when you come to these types of scenarios where you're trying to deliver a multi-channel strategy with a lot of content and a lot of assets. It's very difficult to do it yourself. There's some people doing some great stuff like ForgeRock down in Bristol, but it's not easy. With all the information that we receive from our partners in the marketing team, so VONQ were really great at providing us with informed KPIs, what they expect an organisation of our calibre in our industry to be able to achieve in the different platforms that we're operating on. So they gave us KPIs around the number of impressions that we should, the number of impressions we should expect to see, the number of video views we should expect to see, the number of engagements and click-through rate we should expect to see. And that really helped us focus in on those objectives and ensure that we didn't lose track of them, that we knew, right, okay, this is what we want to achieve, let's work towards it, let's see how this works, and incorporated that with Google Analytics to make sure that we were following it accordingly. The last point on this slide is really, really important, because what we found was massively integral to the success of reviewing how this went, was understanding how all of those channels together aggregated had performed. And it's great you can follow single platforms. If you do a Facebook advertisement, you can see what's going on with Facebook, but having access to the whole integrated piece is really, really invaluable. This is just a breakdown of how we actually went about it. We split it into two distinct flights. So the first flight was really focused on attracting people to register for the event, whether it was to Meetup, which is what we found to be socially native to the tech community in Bristol, the Meetup platform. It's kind of like Eventbrite. But also we used our own internal CRM. We used HubSpot, because we know that sometimes different people interact with different platforms, and we wanted to be able to collect as much information as possible about the people who were interested about Redington and about the tech that we have. We then structured this asset base, so the image assets for the whole campaign. We built out the theme and the messaging based on the conversations that we'd had with the Bristol community, so messaging and content that I'll go into in a little while across social, across the Google Display Network, that was native to those people, that made sense, that resonated somewhat. We then used specific channel advertising, so things like Reddit, things like Stack Overflow, which was it was almost vindicated for us using that type of channel, because we hadn't really thought of it before, when our dev team sort of dropped me a note in the morning saying, oh, I've just seen our stuff across Reddit, looks pretty cool. Using Stack, of course, another great channel for it. And then obviously with the pixel retracking and targeting that we used, it allowed us to serve up more relevant content to those people that have engaged with the different content that we served before. After the event happened, we switched it. We then focused everybody not towards a landing page of signing up for an event, but our career site, getting them to understand who we are, what we do, how we do it, what roles we've got open, why you should come and work for us, what the benefits are. So at the first part, we weren't actually trying to sell them anything. We just wanted to say, hey, come look at Redington, see what we're doing. The next part, obviously, is much more of an active focus to try and hire those people. The measurability is a big piece for us as well. I mentioned before, using Google Analytics and obviously something that VONQ do really well in supporting you is bringing that all together so that they can help track and ensure that you're monitoring the right things at the right time through the right channels. Something that we did notice that isn't referenced here, that because of the campaign itself, the organic impressions delivered to our company website homepage, just redington.co.uk, grew exponentially just through awareness to the different channels that we were operating on. So this is a point that you can use to help sell this type of solution to a talent challenge you might have, is helping the business realize that it's not just talent, it's not just your talent value proposition that you're sharing, it's actually demonstrating Redington to a wider, much wider audience than you actually would, or your company. Here's some of the assets just to give you an idea of what we did. So this is my favorite on the left-hand side. We actually used like a pseudo coding type of language, just to, I know it seems a bit daft and a bit cliche, but actually this was one of the highest rated adverts that was engaged with, because I think it was a little different. It was something that might be somewhat native to that demographic. But one of the things, I think it's the next page, this is my favorite. This was put together by our design team. Can this play? Can the video play? And we thought, this blew my mind apart. Just on After Effects, just put together, we used a coding message. So we had all the key points of the event and then glitched it to put that into people's faces. Gonna go? Oh, it's playing. Yeah, it's just 30 seconds. You don't want any, really, that's sort of 30 to 60 second sweet spot. You don't want any more. But what you need to do is demonstrate all of the information that you want to share with that person, or those demographics. So as you can see, it scripts across the screen, as would be any scripting. Shows you all of the location details, what the theme's about, what we're trying to do. Again, might seem a bit cliche, but this had, in a 1 month period, over 5,500 100% video views, which was we were expecting about 2K, and it just blew us away. So this tagline of where others see the code and you see the change, where others see the code, we see the change, that was obviously built into the messaging piece that we had. Okay, so as I mentioned before, those two distinct flights, a big piece that helped us post-event to attract people to the careers page and ultimately to want to work with us was the post-event asset. So we used more content from the event. We videoed it, we took pictures, we engaged with as many people, we got as much information as we could, we followed up with those people and used this to help deliver the assets for that second flight that I mentioned before across the different channels. Because then people who had seen it and had attended could be like, oh, actually, that's me in that video, or that's me in that picture, and really engage with it on a much more personal level. Yeah, this is just pointing towards the extra pieces. We followed up as much as we could by telephone. When we couldn't do that, obviously it's quite time consuming to do that, is delivering just more of a generic messaging across those CRM systems that you're using, just to show that you actually cared that person bothered to sign up, that they wanted to come and get involved. And give them a little bit of takeaway, do a write-up, give them something that's of value to them, whether it's the opportunity to get involved with something, whether it's a hackathon you're doing, regardless of industry, you need to provide something that is valuable to the demographics that have just engaged with you. So the summary, some of the takeaway points for you before we wrap up. Do the maths. I costed this whole program out by just working out how much we would have spent with recruiters if we hired all the people that we needed to with a recruitment team. I then used that money, that amount that I would be saving, to help buy the VONQ campaign that we purchased, to run the event, to run all the catering, everything involved, all the travel down there as well for all of the team, and show that your executive leadership team or whoever is the budget holder really, that you're not just coming with a PowerPoint, ironically, you're coming with a spreadsheet, you've done your maths and you know why it's going to impact a better business outcome. Be genuine about what you do. Like, if you're going to try and demonstrate your talent value proposition to a new demographic that you don't work there, or one that you're trying to access that you do work with at the moment, don't tell them something about your company that's not true. Because if you say, yeah, it's amazing to work here, but then actually your internal company data says it's shocking, then they're not going to be too happy if you do manage to hire them after about 6 months. So what we found is that because we were genuine, we've got a significantly better retention and engagement scores across the whole Bristol team because of that fact, because, well, personally, because we've been more genuine. The data-driven platforms are a no-brainer. It's something that we all need to live and breathe these days. If we can't assess where we are against KPIs and then actually take retrospectives to look at actually how did we perform, what can we do better, then there's no point in doing it really. You need to be able to continually improve that delivery to a lot of people. Yeah, and hopefully that was helpful for everyone. If you've got any questions, please fire away. I'll also be with the VONQ guys for a little while on the stand down there if you need to ask anything and you don't want to ask in front of everyone. Thank you.